project nothing Kumala, Hundro, Jambo, Senji, nothing, Ambo, no Salabati.
As we have heard, the first of the parts of Mahamudra is the so-called preliminary part, preliminary step. And that includes to know how to go for refuge, how to do that, and how to give rise to what we call the Enlightened Attitude, or Bodhicitta.
And then, Kazon, Jambo, so that there are Tambo, Hundro, and the Nepata, Shawama, Legend, and Pori, the Lodo number, here, in the ground. And then, control some years in temperature, and then, Jago. 但是的话，加油，那甚至肉上杀了大，但那讲究身体的清淡，还从天上那种去表演吧。
And as we have also heard yesterday, these preliminary steps of going for refuge and giving rise to enlightened attitude are yet preceded by yet another set of preliminary thoughts. Literally, these are the four thoughts of the four fundamental truths that we need to reflect about before we even think about going for refuge. And these are the contemplations about the precious human existence and the immense potential it provides us with, its impermanence, the fact that even though we have achieved this precious opportunity, it is highly impermanent and can easily, quickly be snatched away from us again. How each and every single one of our deeds will culminate in a result, therefore we will be propelled by the results of whatever we do through cause and effect, and how existence within a samsaric state is fundamentally characterized by suffering. So the shortcomings of samsara are to be contemplated. Once we have understood the significance of these four fundamental points, then we can contemplate the qualities of the three rare and precious ones, the three jewels as they are called, and we, having understood their qualities, we can then truly put ourselves under their protection and go for refuge too. Accordingly, we proceed now in the instruction on which Rinpoche bases his teachings, the instruction on the five parts of Mahamudra composed by the eighth Karmapa Mikta Dorje. And starting out with this particular subject, Mikta Dorje says the root of all dharmas, the most important root is the going for refuge. It is of great importance to initially go for refuge, to put oneself under the protection of the three precious ones. Now, the significance of all of this and the individual points, why this is so and how this is so, are being explained now later on. Not to put it in Tala, make it singing. Not something make a going singing. He also yet Radaka, Sadon, Silla, Sobat, Saint Bondra, Hindu, the negro. British and the Tanaron to Tatan call it on me, what I would know your so much. Now, when we hear about the importance of going for refuge, of putting ourselves under the protection of the three rare and precious ones, namely the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, we may ask ourselves, why is this the case? This is the case because, as Nichiren Dorje continues in the text, because all existence within samsara is characterized by suffering. Within the various realms of samsara, there is not only the human realm, which we find ourselves, but there are also the gods and the demigods, there are the animals, the hungry ghosts, and the various kinds of hell beings, all of which at one time or another suffer immensely under the results of whatever misdeeds they have performed in the past. It is said that because such cyclic rebirths, such being propelled forward from one life to the next without any choice simply because of the force of cause and effect, this existence within any one of these six realms is characterized by great suffering and by varied suffering in each and every instance. If one were to use an analogy to exemplify the suffering, the fears and the suffering which are being experienced within samsara, then Mika Dorje says one could imagine a vast forest which is completely surrounded, completely enclosed by a fire that is slowly burning its way inwards. In the center of that forest, one is to imagine all kinds of animals that live within this forest who can feel this fire coming closer and closer and have no way of escape. Naturally, one can imagine that their fear, their suffering of the fire that's coming nearer and nearer is extremely great, and that they undergo great suffering indeed in this particular situation. In this way, the Buddha himself has characterized life within any of the various samsara existence, and has said samsara, when one looks at it, is actually nothing else but one huge fire pit. So, taking the great sufferings of samsaric existence of whatever kind into account, we might think of some way or other to escape from such suffering. We might think of finding shelter from this suffering in any which way. And when we think about what is it that can actually shelter us from this suffering, that can protect us from such suffering, then ultimately there is nothing else but the three rare and precious ones, the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, which have that ability. Therefore, having understood that this is truly so, from the bottom of our hearts we go for refuge, we put ourselves under the protection of the three rare and precious ones, and with this intention in mind of being sheltered, of being protected from further suffering within this endless cyclic existence of samsara, we go for refuge, we put ourselves under their protection.
个人在把拉所不得的送给原定了，上了当年真的送给了一起出的。
So when we put ourselves under the protection of the Buddha, for instance, it is necessary that we first give rise to devotion to and confidence in the Buddha. Now, how do we do that? One way of doing this would be of thinking of the life example of the Buddha, all the various lifetimes and many lifetimes that he spent over the course of 3 immeasurable eons, purifying his own mind stream of all kinds of negativities, accumulating immeasurable merit by way of performing virtuous deeds and giving up all unvirtuous dealings whatsoever. We might then also think of his final lifetime, or the lifetime during which he came to be known as the Buddha, when he was then born in Lumbini, where he then left the life of the palace that he was leading. He went into homelessness and he practiced at the bank of a river for 6 years, great austerities, and finally then he went to Bodh Gaya and under the famous Bodhi tree there, and demonstrated the achievement of the awakening of full Buddhahood. If we think in this way of the immeasurable qualities that the Buddha has accumulated, that he has actualized, and of the countless beings to whom he then, in the course of 3 great cycles of teachings, taught the Dharma, taught the path that leads to such enlightenment, to such a liberation or awakening, then we can indeed give rise to this trust, to this devotion to and confidence in the Buddha. And having given rise to that, we then find it within ourselves to place us under his protection and go for refuge to him.
第送给去的老的人，他等把送机装的家做，他第下年送的当没去的，他哪能送的？老们就出的家送着呢，送机去啊，送不给去的哪能送老的人了？这去工作了，家送着了。
Putting ourselves under the protection of the second of these refuge objects or sources, the Dharma, teaching of the Buddha, these teachings which the Buddha has spoken that lead to liberation, means that we have to put these teachings into practice. Whatever it is that the Buddha has taught, we have to learn these teachings, we have to reflect upon them, understand their meaning, and then put them into practice, thereby bringing about our very own personal experience of that which the Buddha has taught. So in this way, then gaining confidence in the Dharma, the teaching of the Buddha, we place ourselves under the protection of the Dharma as well. So when we're talking about placing ourselves under the protection of Dharma, it has to be said that there are 2 types of Dharma, or that one can speak of 2 categories of Dharma. The first of these is the so-called scriptural Dharma, transmitted Dharma, all the teachings that the Buddha has given, all the commentaries on these and so forth, all of these teachings which have been handed down from the time of the Buddha through all these years down to the present day. This is the information of the Dharma that we can find, that we can hear in teachings as we are given, that we can read about and so forth. But then there's also another type of Dharma, which is the realization, the experience and insight, which has resulted out of masters of the path, the great Bodhisattvas, of course, the Buddha himself, practicing this Dharma and putting it into practice and thereby bringing about realization. So there we have these 2 types, the scriptural Dharma and the Dharma of realization, that which has been realized as a result of practicing the Dharma.
这老早来的原定当送啊，他送几个家里送的，当的是老早来的。 소소 그 개인 다다나로 라마도 개신이 라소바 당시 내니 나랑 좀 송지의 송의 표를 대한 양다가 수다니 대자발세바 다자 소소 그 개인 그 조제 처도 답선도 와.
And then there's the third source of refuge or protection under which we can place ourselves, which is the community of those who practice this Dharma, which are known as the Sangha, or as it is being said in the words of the text by Mikyu Dorje, the Sangha, or as Sangha, the community of practitioners, we understand those who have made the teaching of the Dharma into their own personal practice, which have derived and which have brought about experience in the Dharma by way of practicing. Now, when we talk of Sangha, the community of those who practice the Dharma, there are many different types of practitioners. There may be ordinary practitioners like ourselves who are taking the first steps upon the path of the Dharma, who are trying to perform some sort of practice of whatever kind. Then there are those who already find themselves on the Bodhisattva levels, who have already gained great realization. There are those whom we experience, whom we meet as our personal teachers, and so forth. So when we talk about Sangha, the community of practitioners, this entails a great variety of different beings, of different practitioners. So this is the third source of protection and refuge, under the protection of which we place ourselves. Now, when we talk about the Sangha to which we go for protection and refuge, especially we mean the so-called exalted Sangha, which means all the Bodhisattvas, the Arhats, the so-called 8 close sons of the Buddha, which are the great Bodhisattvas such as Avalokiteshvara, Manjushri, Vajrapani, and so forth. And this also includes the so-called 16 elders, the 16 Arhats as they're known, and beings who have brought about equally great realization. So these are the particular kind of Sangha under the protection of which we place ourselves. Now, placing ourselves under the protection of these 3 rare and precious ones, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, means that we strive to practice this path, which is the Dharma, and use those who have gone that path before us as guides upon this path. Now, if we ourselves were to become part of that Sangha, we could, for instance, resolve to emulate the discipline of those who have who have traversed that path before us. We could, for instance, take upon us the various kinds of commitments of either the Genyin, the Getsu, or the Gilong ordination, whichever one wishes to take upon oneself, and in this way bring about positive deeds, positive imprints within our own mind stream, so that eventually we develop in such a way that we ourselves become a part of that Sangha. in this way, we could practice that Dharma which has been taught by the Buddha and proceed to travel on that path until we ourselves also become like them whom we follow after.
장도 담바 요 찬이 상대 되니 갱닝게 담바다 소다리 지르노네 갱닝게 담바 카운스 도바레 테차랑 담바 요바.
So having heard about the significance of these different types of commitments that one can take upon oneself, having heard about the benefits that are derived thereof, we might still not be quite ready to decide for ourselves to now formally take these commitments. Nevertheless, what all of us have already done is we have placed ourselves under the protection of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha by way of going for refuge, by way of taking refuge into them. And even that, which is the initial step on the path, even though it is not particularly enumerated among the 5 Genyan commitments or lay vows, as they're also called, it is an integral part of them. So in this way, even if we have, so to speak, only taken refuge so far, we are some type of Genyan lay person holding at least parts of these vows already. So if we were to truly put all of this into practice, to truly go for refuge to the 3, put ourselves under the protection of the 3 rare and precious ones, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, it is necessary that we do this very thoroughly. Doing this very thoroughly means that at the very outset, we first have to take a look at ourselves, the way our lives have been going up until the present moment, the way we constantly find ourselves under the influence of habitual tendencies and so forth, running after all sorts of pleasures and happy experiences, and for the most part, basically just wasting that precious opportunity which we presently have. So in this way, we should reflect upon the point that this opportunity that we have now is indeed an extremely precious one, and that it indeed provides us with immense potential if we were only to use it. And on top of that, having attained this precious opportunity, we have to remind ourselves of the fact that it is not going to last, that this opportunity is highly perishable, highly impermanent. It can be snatched away from us at any moment. There's no way that any one of us could say that he or she will live this or that long, is there? And having realized that fact, then again we remind ourselves of the fact that once the moment has come that this precious human life that we possess right now is being snatched away from us by way of death, that it is only through the force of our own previous actions, through that which we call karma or cause and effect, that we will be propelled to the next life, to our next existence. And we have not the slightest idea what sort of existence this could be, or do we? We don't. Then, taking all of this into account, it becomes quite clear to us that whatever samsaric existence we could be, whatever form within this samsaric runs we could take on in future lifetimes, no matter what it might be, all of these lives by necessity are characterized through suffering, through more or less suffering, but nevertheless always through suffering. So having taken all of these points into account, having understood the significance of these, then we make the strong resolve that from now on we truly strive to find a way out of such suffering. Now, what's the logical thing to do here? At the very outset, being beginners as we are, the logical thing, the first logical thing to do is that we place ourselves under the protection of the one teacher who has actually found a way out of this suffering, and this is nobody else but the Buddha himself. And we put into practice that which he has taught, the path that he has taught that leads out of suffering, which is the Dharma that he has spoken, and we do so by way of making use of those who have traversed that path before us, who are able, on the basis of their own experience which they have made by way of practicing this Dharma, to guide us along that path. Now, if we were to make this into a sort of formal practice, how would we proceed? If we formally go for refuge and place ourselves under the protection of these, then we start out by way of imagining that the teacher, the Buddha, and all the other enlightened, realized beings which have followed after him are truly present in front of us in space. We imagine them to be truly there and go for refuge to them and place ourselves under their protection. We also go for refuge to the teaching that the Buddha has taught and that all of these enlightened beings have practiced, and we can imagine this teaching on the one hand as the awakened awareness of these enlightened beings, as well as in the shape of all the books which contain all the words of the Buddha. And we imagine how these are all surrounded by the community of those who have practiced this path, which are known as the Sangha. So imagining these three sources of refuge and protection to be truly present in front of us in space, we then wholeheartedly go for refuge to them, place ourselves under their protection, and in this way we make this into a practice that has to be, that we have to train in. Apparently there was some confusion yesterday about the times the gong would be rung by Rinpoche, so would you rather prefer Rinpoche does it only once today and you can contemplate these points, or would you rather prefer individual gongs?
And don't find it, tell them, and take it, and not tell us something. Not so many can go, not so many go, you are telling someone down the road.
So I'm just going to ring the gong once now, and once he has done so, then please reflect upon these points, as Rinpoche has now several times explained them, about these four fundamental truths, these four fundamental points and their significance and importance. This is what you should reflect about when Rinpoche has produced the tone with the gong. Do not use this opportunity to think about what you have to do today or tomorrow or any other time in the future, but reflect upon these 4 points.
运动上呢，加速度的彻底投身来，你把江州中神经是不是？你把它神经给当作双数的3个层级吧的。
Now, this may serve as an explanation of how to go for refuge, of how to put oneself under the protection of the three rare and precious ones. Now, in the second step, we will hear about how to properly give rise to that which we call Bodhicitta or the Enlightened Attitude.
没接到这个上来，第一技术神经太长期了，家中做法，人家呢，家中的不当你用大法，做不送机在码头，人的使用门都是，他神经长期的动画来家套法才能，才能家上这种对把送机就变成，这种对不可当你。做不送机，当地在码头把人使用在了家套门都。
And the text continues to say, following this, or having understood these points, having reflected upon these points, one should know that there is no other refuge or protection for any of all of these sentient beings other than the fully, completely enlightened Buddha himself.
做头发了样，神经的长期的，养大发做不松肌的，马头上呢做头发门头，他神经长期，松肌的光风的，头上呢他动上起来做头发的，松肌的光风马头的把头他动上起来做头发用嘛的，做头发门头背，这头发上呢神经的那的，粗刷发，这把讲完了说。 现在送机光光跑不了3把了，神经长期的3浪粗糙，这个都是我讲，现在我不会。那马健神经3浪的呢，粗糙都不用的，他没习惯的了，他神经长期的3浪的粗糙没习，这个都是我讲没习。对了，对了，对了，上机的光光跑不了，现在那种搞完了。
That being the case, the Buddha being the one and only refuge and protection there is, one may wonder how does that going for refuge to the Buddha and placing oneself under the protection of this enlightened being, the Buddha, how does this work? It is a well-known fact that until each and every individual sentient being has not yet achieved the awakening of full Buddhahood for itself, until that is not the case, there can be no complete protection, there can be no complete shelter from the sufferings of samsara or whatever. This is not possible. And no Buddha has ever been able to provide this. This is only being brought about by beings taking upon themselves the practice of the path of the Dharma, which is the teaching of the Buddhas. As soon not as soon, only when beings have practiced this teaching of the Buddha and have for themselves brought about the complete awakening of Buddhahood or of liberation or enlightenment, only then can this protection, can this refuge, this shelter from the sufferings of samsara be absolutely complete. Now, the way this is being brought about is by way of practicing this Dharma. And this is being done by way of gradually purifying oneself of the temporary veils and obscurations, of all the impurities that have been brought about through our own nature of acting, and by way of accumulating the various accumulations of merit. If one does this accordingly, then eventually one will achieve the awakening of Buddhahood for oneself and will then be truly sheltered or protected from any further suffering whatsoever. However, all beings who strive like this, all of these beings who have in previous lifetimes been our old mothers, they desire such a fearless, such a state free of any suffering, to be completely protected from it. However, their behavior is not adequate to the task. Their behavior displays the ignorance about how to proceed in such a way. They do not know what are the methods that lead to such freedom of suffering. Now, having realized that indeed all of these beings who have formerly been our kind mothers are ignorant of the ways of bringing about lasting happiness, of bringing about the lasting freedom of suffering, and having realized that their behavior rather serves to bring about more suffering in the future based on their ignorance, at least we ourselves from now on resolve to step upon that path which leads to the realization, to the awakening of full Buddhahood. We resolve to do this in place of all of these beings, to bring about Buddhahood for ourselves, so that once this goal has been actualized, once this goal has been attained by ourselves, then we are able to truly and efficiently guide other beings upon that path. So for all of these beings, as well as for our own sex, we take it upon ourselves to travel this path, to learn and practice and realize the Dharma accordingly until we ourselves have achieved the full enlightenment of Buddhahood. Then we will be able to truly help others, to truly guide others upon that path, and to point out the various ways and behaviors which may serve for other beings to traverse that path, to actualize it, and to finally bring it to realization. If we were to make such an attitude our own, then this would indeed be that which we call an enlightened attitude. This would indeed be the attitude which is known under the name of Bodhicitta, and if we were to act accordingly, we could truly be called Bodhisattvas. So in order to make this attitude, to truly practice this attitude, to actualize this attitude, it is necessary that we do not simply leave it at thinking of these points and thinking how nice and how true and how beneficial they are, but that we actually remind ourselves of these points again and again and make them part of our everyday practice. On the one hand, we should again and again remind ourselves of the immeasurable suffering which beings constantly undergo, and how it is necessary to bring about the end of such suffering. So in all our thoughts and deeds, whatever it is that we might be thinking of or that we might be doing, we should constantly remind ourselves of the truth of that suffering of all of these beings, and we should constantly strive to find the way that leads out of this suffering for the sake of all of these beings. Now, if we were truly to give rise to this enlightened attitude within ourselves, we would constantly have to remind ourselves of the immeasurable suffering which all the beings which in former lifetimes have been kind mothers and with extended great loving care to us, how they constantly undergo such suffering, how they are all full of the wish to experience happiness, but how their means of bringing this about are utterly inadequate, based on their ignorance about how to bring about lasting happiness. Now, if we were to remind ourselves of these points constantly, then these beings who have been our former kind mothers would become the object towards whom we extend our loving kindness and compassion. So, therefore, we should resolve to bring about the lasting end of suffering of all of these beings who have been our mothers in former lifetimes, and traverse the path that leads to the liberation of such suffering. If we were to make this into a practice, into a formal meditation practice, then we could do this by way of practicing the meditation that is known as giving and taking. As we do so, we could imagine that with every breath that we exhale, that brilliant white light is being exhaled, that it pervades the entire world and all the beings therein, and that by way of doing so, all our happiness, all our merit, all the positive deeds, the results of these that we have ever performed, that we give these away to all of these former mothers of ours. And as we then inhale, we could imagine how we inhale all the suffering, the causes of future suffering, the pain, the sicknesses, and so forth, from which all of these former mothers of ours suffer, and take them upon ourselves by way of imagining how we inhale dark light or smoke or something of the sort. So in this way, practicing giving and taking based on this realization about the points that Rinpoche has explained, this would be the actualization or the actual practice of that which we call the Enlightened Attitude or Bodhicitta. Now, if one were to reflect in this way and practice in this way, one would conclude such a session by way of uttering the words which are known as the four limitless thoughts, through which we express our wish that all beings may be free of suffering, that they may have happiness and the cause of happiness, and so forth. This would conclude such a formal meditation session that centers around the giving rise to the Enlightened Attitude or Bodhicitta. If there are any questions concerning these points, then please remember them until tomorrow. Time is up for now, and let us now conclude this afternoon session by way of dedicating the merit that has been accumulated for the sake of all beings. Devachenprayer.